In this module, we're going to talk about how to keep your AdSense account safe. That means not being banned by Google AdSense as a violation of their terms and conditions or their policies. When you first created your AdSense account, you were forced to sign off, click the box that you agreed with the terms and conditions. So there are really two primary categories and then some subcategories of conditions that you need to be aware of. First of all, you cannot do anything to entice people to click on your ads. That means you can't speak to people and ask them to do it. You can't click on your own ads that they put on your site. You can't write programs that automatically click on ads. You can't have any text on your site that says, hey, if you love me, if you want to support this site, please click on the ads. You cannot put a big picture of a big arrow pointing at an ad that says, click on this. All of those things are considered encouraging people to click on ads. You cannot do any of that. And I can tell you that one of the most common reasons people are banned from using AdSense, where they have their sites blocked and their account blocked, is something called click fraud, and that is simply having people click on ads that are not natural clicks. Now, if you think that you can find a clever scheme that no one else has thought about to get away with that, just consider that Google has seen every conceivable scheme, and they're very, very good at detecting click fraud. They look at the history of your site, how many clicks it's received over a period of time, maybe how many clicks happen within a half hour or an hour or this time of day, where those clicks come from geographically, and they look at the diversity of devices and all of those statistics that tell them whether a click seems like it's a natural thing or whether it looks like an unnatural thing where someone is intentionally clicking more on ads. And they certainly look at who you are as the owner of the website and whether you're clicking on your own ads. So just be very, very, very careful about that, because not only can your account get canceled, but they can also take away the revenue that you've earned or confiscate the balance that's in the account. And that happens to a lot of people. It's possible to get reinstated, but it's not necessarily very easy. So you need to be really careful about that. The second main category of things to watch out for is the content on your website. Google will not put AdSense ads on pages that have adult, mature, sexual kinds of content, either images or text. So you have to be especially careful about the kind of language you use. Now, there are some categories where, of course, some adult-sounding words might end up on a page legitimately, like if you have a health website and you're talking about certain kinds of topics with those kinds of words appearing, usually you can get away with this. However, there have been situations in my experience where even a site that legitimately talked about some sexual topic had its AdSense ads blocked. Now, oftentimes when you violate the policy in that way, I say oftentimes, at least sometimes, you'll get a warning message from Google that says you need to take down the content that's in violation of our policies, and usually they give you a deadline. For me, it's been 3 days. They've told me we've found adult content on a certain page on your site, and you need to take that down within 3 days, or else we will either ban the site or cancel your account altogether. And this happens quite often when you have sites that accept user-generated content, where you have a site where users can upload their own articles or their own photos, or they can submit titles or pictures or comments that might contain some kind of content that Google finds unacceptable. So if you have a site like that, you need to either have a very rigorous review process for the content that users submit so that you review it before it's posted, or you need to have some kind of process where the content is reviewed very shortly after they post it on a regular basis. Otherwise, you're just going to get in trouble like that. I've had sites like that in the past. Of course, there's some big advantages to have user-generated content because they're adding pages to your website without your own work. But one thing you need to be concerned about is making sure that all of that content is AdSense safe. And so the adult content is a problem. Also, hate-related content or where there's discrimination or hate kind of language, sometimes gambling content, and banned substances, drugs, and that kind of content sometimes also can get you in trouble with AdSense. So take a look at the policies that you're seeing on their site. They're really easy to find, and read through that and make sure that you yourself are not publishing that kind of content and expecting to have AdSense ads along with that content. Another thing that can get you in trouble with Google is to have ads right bumped up against images on the site. You should always have a buffer area between images and ads, between ads and text as well. Make sure that there's some margins there, and most of the plugins will do that for you. Another thing is that you have to be careful and make sure that you don't have text on your sites that are completely mimicking ads, or ads that are completely mimicking text. In other words, that if you do something that makes an ad look too much like the text on the website, sometimes that can get you in trouble with Google, because they interpret that as you trying to fool a user into clicking on an ad. Now, earlier in the course in another module, we talk about actually doing that as a strategy to some extent, but you just have to keep it clean and above board. I mean, it's good to use consistent colors between the theme of your website and the ads that you create, the AdSense ads that you create. And it's also good to place them on places where users are more likely to click, but you just have to be really, really careful. As an example, you can do a text link ad, which sort of looks like a menu, and you can locate that ad near another menu on your site. And if those menus look identical to the user or almost identical, sometimes that can get you in trouble with AdSense, because they'll say that you're actually trying to fool the user into thinking that that's a menu for navigation within your site when it's actually an AdSense ad. Another thing that you need to be aware about is the number of accounts that you can have. Google says you can only have one account. Actually, what they mean is you can only have one account per physical street address and name. So it is actually legal with Google to have a business account and then a personal account, but they don't want you to have two personal accounts with the same name, or in some cases I think they don't actually want you to have the same name and multiple addresses, those kinds of things. Because typically in the past, what people have been trying to do is create multiple accounts and then use those accounts in ways that may violate the terms of service, knowing that some accounts would get canceled. So they're encouraging people not to do that, and they check the names and the addresses and the IP addresses of people when they create those accounts, just to make sure there's not duplication of accounts.